Welcome back to another episode of The Josh Potter Show, and boy, oh boy, am I excited for this one. Decent amount of baseball on this episode, fair warning, and that's because the postseason has begun, and not only am I taking it in with my one bad eye on the television, I went to the NL wildcard game this past week. We'll get into that in just a moment. Also, Frank the Tank coming up a little bit later on in the program. Hopefully by this point you've watched the ESPN 30 for 30 Once Upon a Time in Queens. All sex, drugs, rock and roll about the 1986 Mets. Frank, the biggest Mets fan I've ever seen in my life. And in fact, he got me through quarantine a lot with all of his content that goes beyond just Mets content. You'll see. We'll get into Frank later in the program. I want to let you know right now off the bat, though, joshpottershow@gmail.com is where you can submit anything, whether it be a Roach reporting article. We have so many today. It also could be an instrumental, the way Odd Track Numbers did with this bad boy right here. Thank you to him for doing that. Josh J. Baleza, he hit me up with some remixes. We'll get to those as we introduce the sports and the news later on in the program. But again, if you want to send anything of that like in, joshpottershow@gmail.com is where you can do it. Articles, music, remixes, whatever it may be. Some feedback. We have so much feedback from people in New Zealand, which I asked for because we had that story last week involving smugglers bringing in Kentucky Fried Chicken into New Zealand. Gangsters who were getting like pulled over and arrested and things like that. So I had to know what was going on in New Zealand. Thankfully, many a Roach out there in New Zealand to let us know. What else is going on, you ask? Well, I'm going to be at Helium Comedy Club in Buffalo. That's the big show, the big push right now. So go to my Instagram at Josh_Potter or my Twitter at J_Potter and buy tickets to that. 5 shows happening at Buffalo's Helium Comedy Club. The big push right now for the live instances. We'll have more to announce very soon, which I'm excited about. And also keep following along on twitch.tv/Josh_Potter. I had a bit of a snafu for a couple of weeks. My PlayStation, I've been using it for a lot in the last couple of years here, especially with COVID and things, and it just basically fried, and I had to get it replaced. And so I did. It took a little while. I was on the road at the same time, so finally it's arrived. We had a couple of streams and we're kicking them off again, so you can follow along and it'll be back on and consistent as far as that goes. I'm excited to get Frank on at the end of the program. We'll wrap up the program with Frank. We have so much news to get to, but first, like I said, I had such a great time at the NL wildcard game, and let's get into sports and kick it off discussing that instance. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. Thank you again to Josh J. Baleza for sending in the remixes that we're using today. Hey, Kirsten, do you think you can bring me my Red Bull I left in the fridge there without grabbing it? Do you think you can bring that around while we get into this? And then I'll give plenty of story before we queue up our video here. Oh, she's coming now. Thank you. Appreciate it. Look how fast you did that. Thank you so much. Give it up for Kirsten, everybody. She's back once again. She's running back into the control room. But yes, I was in attendance for the NL wildcard game. I have my first ever postseason game, and you would think I would have gone into it rooting for the Cardinals because just by pure coincidence, this was the 4th time that I've watched the 2021 St. Louis Cardinals. I watched them in spring training. I went down to spring training back in March when I did the West Palm Improv, and I went to a spring training game with my cousin Gary, who lives literally, like, his backyard is that field for wherever the Marlins do their spring training. I forget the name of the field. And the Cardinals were playing that week or day or whatever, however it works, and I watched the Cardinals then. Then, when I was in St. Louis to do Helium Comedy Club, went to a Cardinals game, saw the Cardinals play the Braves. Then I saw on accident, just merely days later, in Milwaukee, going to a Brewers game, saw the Cardinals play against the Brewers there. They lost in a walk-off home run. And then I see them in the NL wildcard. So you would have thought I would go in. Plus, I wear the Cardinals hat. I rock it. I don't mind saying. But as you know, I am not a fan of a particular team. I'm a fan of baseball. And what a game it was. If you don't know, it was just wonderful. Max Scherzer pitched a wonderful game. And it was walked off at the end in the bottom of the ninth by Chris Taylor. Boom. The 1-1 tie was broken, and the Los Angeles Dodgers won the game in Dodger Stadium. I smoked weed with a Latino gentleman. Weed was everywhere in that stadium. It was magical, and I don't think anyone cared. It was so funny. You walk in, and I had a bandana on, and they were like, "Do you have a real mask?" And I was like, "No," and they gave me a real mask, which I'll wear if they're gonna make me. I'm obliged. I don't mind. So I put it on, and then by the second inning, everyone's mask is just, first it's hanging off the ear, now it's in their pocket. No one's even giving a shit anymore. People are mouth kissing by the end of the game, passing joints in the stadium. So at the end of the day, humanity prevails over these, rules and regulations and things like that. It was such a magical time. I took a small dosage of mushrooms, which I'm glad it was only a small one, because I went by myself. I might have had a freak out had I not, because the traffic situation getting out of there, I mean, it is storied and true. Everyone likes to talk shit about the Dodgers fans because, the first inning will start and they'll pan the crowd and they'll say how empty it is. And that's because it's 5 o'clock on a fucking Tuesday. I mean, give people a break. They have jobs. They got to come from their jobs to get to the game. So people do arrive late. Plus, the traffic is they still have the same traffic system that they had in the 1950s when this fucking stadium was built. So it's not really great. And I found that on the way out more than I found it on the way in, as you often do with calamities, right? It's worse on the way out than the way in. But I had a great time, and it was magical. And am I rooting for the Dodgers? I don't know. I'm not going to put my eggs in one basket as far as the postseason goes. There's a lot of teams that I love. I'm just rooting for some wonderful baseball. And I think we were all Max Scherzer by the end of it. I definitely was noticing on the train ride home that I was a little bit worse for wear, but let's see how it happened. I mean, this is moments after the game. Max Scherzer, of course, pitched, 5 innings, had 3 hits against him, 1 run, and a couple of walks. Let's hear what he had to say at the post game here as they interviewed him at the end of the victory.
Yeah, Kalong told me a couple days ago, you gotta get rid of this echo. I can't talk. I'm drunk. Whatever.
Can't talk. I'm drunk. Whatever. That was me by the end of that game as well, and I think many of us in Dodger Stadium, we were all Max Scherzer that evening. Now, the day prior to the NL wildcard, of course, was the American League wildcard. Yankees played the Red Sox. Storied rivalry, one that I've never really taken a side in. In this case, I took the side of the Boston Red Sox for gambling purposes because I am the plus sign Poppy over here, and I do love me a good plus sign when it comes to gambling. So I took the Red Sox, and I was victorious. And it didn't look like it was going to be a victory. I said that odd, but a victory for the Red Sox. It didn't look like that it was going to be that way. In the first inning, Giancarlo Stanton came to the plate, and he jacked a ball. Deep drive to left center, and I think everyone and their mother thought this thing was a home run. Let's see what happened, though. John Sterling on the call here.
The pitch to Stanton. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone out of the ballpark. A Stantonian home run. Now, what did I do wrong? What did I see wrong? He's at first base.
Just an all-time call from legendary broadcaster John Sterling, who's been with the Yankees since the dawn of time. And this man has missed family events for games. This man has his house burned down. Didn't miss a single game. Went through divorces. Didn't miss a single. I mean, this guy has been there for everything. And a lot of people, were giving him a pass during the season because he was making a lot of calls off the monitor being in a remote location because of COVID. In this case, he was in Fenway. But it's so weird. Everyone thought that ball was a home run. The crowd even thought it was a home run. And it just went up there and died in the thin air. I feel like everyone who was sitting on the big green monster was doing like the way that thing just died in the air. And of course, it wasn't a home run. It hit the wall and turned out to just be a single. It wasn't even a double or anything like that. And John Sterling, what did I do wrong? Well, what you did wrong was you didn't wait for the ball to go over the old fence there. Maybe he didn't see it. I mean, I'm having a difficult time seeing. If I was in that ballpark and I saw that Stanton just crank that ball, I would have assumed it was going out of the park too. I mean, I think everyone did. Even the camera guy acted like it was going out of the park. So I'm not giving John Sterling too much gruff. In fact, I actually tip my cap to John Sterling because of the fact that he made one of the greatest calls in all of baseball. What did I get wrong here? What did I do wrong? What did I do? And it's like, who is he talking to? Is he just yelling that in an empty room? I would hope somebody was in the room with him and was like, it was a single. And a Stantonian home run. Man, oh man, what words. I mean, shit. Now that's a new verb for single to me. Stantonian home run, that just means a single now. A pretty, not even spectacular single. Like almost a disappointing hit that turned into a single. So that was John Sterling and the AL wild card. AL wild card. Good God, what just happened to my brain? It wasn't as exciting as the NL, but it was still a great game. And now the baseball postseason is underway. Like I said, we'll get to Frank the Tank later on in the program. But something that I've been just chomping at the bit to discuss is old Urban Meyer. Now, for those of you who don't know who Urban Meyer is out there, you don't follow football in any capacity, Urban Meyer, longtime legendary college coach of the Florida Gators during Tim Tebow time, when they were just lighting up the world. And of course, Tim Tebow had his pious stances. He was all Mr. Jesus and religion, and I think that's genuine, for the record. I'm not saying that he's not a genuine person. Urban Meyer, though, always struck me as not quite as genuine in his, discussing how highfalutin he is as far as morality and things like that. Never really stuck with me because, on his team, the Florida Gators, he also had known murderer Aaron Hernandez and did a lot to cover up some of his transgressions during that time. Then he went on to Ohio State and had success there. But when you're a guy who's like controlling these top tier programs, you're doing a lot of shuffling some scandal under the rug. Urban Meyer's wife, also very vocal on Twitter. She's often yelling at a CVS employee for wearing a mask. Things like that, you understand. She's one of those. Maybe a Karen. Her name's Shelley, though. Shelley Meyer. And so last week, the night I was in D.C., as a matter of fact, Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars. You see, Urban Meyer now has gone on to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars. First year head coach of an NFL team. And he's gone in, and it's been kind of rough. They haven't been winning. Urban Meyer's treating all the players as if they're not grown men, as if they're college kids. That often happens when a successful college coach goes to the NFL. It's sort of a culture shock for that coach, and they don't necessarily adapt very well. Some have. So Urban Meyer not off to a great start with the Jacksonville Jaguars already. Then they play in Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football. They lose to a hapless Cincinnati Bengals team. Not looking good in that regard. Urban Meyer decides, you know what? I'm not going to fly home with the team. Now, already that says something. That speaks volumes in a locker room. Oh, the coach is just going to hang out in Ohio, where he has a bar and everything like that. It's a little. So we're 0-4. This coach is just going to hang out now and chill and not go home with the team. He's not going to take his lumps with the team. Interesting. Okay. Then a couple of viral videos come out and some pictures. I shared some on my Instagram at Josh_Potter, but we can watch one right here. What do you say? And I think it's got to be muted, because of the music. Is that true, Kirsten?
Yeah, and I mean, the music only comes in for a few seconds and cuts off anyways, so it's fine muted.
Okay. Yeah, just play it muted. We just need to see Urban Meyer get his grind on. So this beautiful blonde lady just grinding up on Urban Meyer, you see. And there have been pictures that came out after that. Urban Meyer looks toasted. okay? And this isn't something that I would normally take umbrage with. As a matter of fact, I don't really take umbrage with it. You know, people are like, oh, Urban... The holier than thou thing is what makes me take umbrage with it, because he's so pious and he has these attitudes about certain things and he acts a certain way. For him to do this is hilarious to me, especially because he's Urban Meyer. Of course, everyone's got their phones out around you. This is something that if one of his players had done, he would be like, how dumb can you be? You know, everyone's got a phone out there. You know you're going to get recorded. But he did it, and I don't even think what he did was that bad. He didn't look like he was cheating on his wife. He had his hand. It looked like he was almost blocking for a second the grinding with his hand. Like he was like, if I just put my hand here, that means it's blocking my penis from being near the grind. Therefore, I have a defense. Your Honor, my hand was blocking the grind. It was not making contact with my penis. How that holds up in the court of Shelley Meyer, I do not know. However, some other pictures came out. A girl made like a Snapchat where she was like, she goes, this guy's been flirting with me all night. Turns out he's Urban Meyer. Who knows the truth behind all of that? But what I'm saying is, if you're going to go Urban Meyer cheated on his wife, if you are going to put that on him and say he cheated on his wife, our dads all have cheated on your moms. I mean, it's just the way it goes. That is something that, like, a dad at a bar, if a hot blonde girl's doing that, he's not going to really say much. He'll be giving you a wink and a nod. I can't imagine. Maybe your dad has higher morals than my dad. But at the end of the day, I feel like that was innocent enough. Was it a little scandalous? Was it something he probably should have known better than to allow happen because of the phone thing? Yes, that's the biggest offense. Now, how does Urban Meyer handle this moment? Does he go to his locker room, full of grown men, by the way, not college students, and say, oh, I was a little drunk. We all have been there, made some bad choices. I got to do better. So my bad, fellas. No, he acts all pious again, and he gives this heartfelt apology as if he had just murdered a person, the way he was apologizing. And all of the position groups, when he went in individually, it's been said in reports, many reports, that when he left the room after apologizing for this heinous incident, that everyone laughed at him. Everyone walked out there like, what a fucking dork. And they all laughed at him. Let's look at Urban Meyer. He could have taken the podium here and said, you know what? Got really drunk. Tried to blow off some steam down in, up in Ohio, where I obviously have quite the history. I own a bar up there. I was at my bar, and, I should have known better. But, we all make mistakes moving on to whoever the fuck they're playing this week. Let's see how he handled it instead.
Yeah, I just apologized to the team and staff, and
they all laughed at me.
It was stupid. And so I explained everything that happened and owned it, and just stupid. Should not have myself in that kind of position.
Urban, did you fly back with the team, or did you stay in?
No, I stayed to see the grandkids, and we all went to dinner that night at a restaurant, and then there's a big group next to our restaurant, and they wanted me to come over and take pictures, and I did. And they were trying to pull me out on the dance floor, screwing around, and I should have left.
How did the team react? I mean, they're probably pretty
they laughed at me.
Reactionary, or how did they take it? Your apology?
Well, I've always been so defensive of them. I remember when Trevor told me he was going to go to Vegas for his bachelor party. I mean, I was just, my gosh, man, be careful and surround yourself, and because I've seen this happen, and I just, so the team. I spoke to a bunch of leaders one-on-one. Spoke to all the players. They're good. They were focused on Tennessee, and I apologized again for being a distraction. And a coach should not be a distraction.
How about your family? Did you also?
Oh yeah, ask him that one while he's on the coals.
Not me, and it's. Oh yeah, they were upset.
Have you talked to Shad Khan about it, and what was that conversation?
Shad Khan is the owner.
I did talk to Shad, and very supportive and.
Supportive.
Trent, I talked to him obviously at length. Right when I got that phone call that night, the next night.
I mean, just could you be any more of a dildo about it there, Urban Meyer? Like, if he was just like, I got you. The way that he painted the incident and tried to play out the events of that night was like, I was at dinner with my grandkids and my family, and a group of people next to us wanted to take some pictures. Oh, okay. Were you spending the entire dinner with that group of people? You mean to tell me you were letting a chick grind on you while your grandkids were over there? I mean, what are you doing? You don't even have to offer that kind of information. You were at your own fucking bar that you own. It's got your fucking picture everywhere on the wall. Hell, it's got a picture of him and his wife right behind the bar. I saw a picture of that where his wife was with a big picture with him and he's over there grinding like just 3 feet away from it. Shelley Meyer has put out a statement that I had here. Basically, just standing by her man on Twitter. And like I said, she is on Twitter. Masks are bad here, anti-vaccine here. All da-da-da-da-da. Now, if that's not a distraction for the team, I don't know what it is. But, that's neither here nor there, I suppose. But she came to Twitter to defend her man and say, are you not a sinner too? Or something like that. One of those, those who live in glass houses shall not cast stones type of defenses. And, people had what they had to say in regards to that. And then I looked today, after she just released that statement yesterday, 24 hours ago, her Twitter is gone. I don't know why these people even respond to things or answer or they put out statements about something and then they just go, well, that blew up the world, and then they delete the whole Twitter. Why don't you just preemptively delete your Twitter instead of making a statement about it or make a statement elsewhere? Of course, Urban Meyer made his on the press conference. And could you imagine he had to go have that press conference, conduct that press conference mere minutes after his team that he is supposed to be the leader of laughed in his fucking face. I give him 4 more weeks. I don't think he's going to finish the NFL season at this rate. If they lose 4 more games, 5 more games maybe, and they're 0-10, 0-9, 0-10, he's got to be gone. I mean, it's going to be such a crash and burn. And you can see these things. When a successful college coach, a big name college coach, comes in the NFL, this is the type of thing that all of us morbid people rub our hands. We're like, ooh, like licking our chops, because either he's going to be a wonderful success or he's going to be a giant fucking crash and burn situation. And it's seeming as if Urban Meyer, this is irreparable. This is irreparable. He's already lost the locker room. They think he's a giant queef. They think he's, not really all in it. Everyone's already kind of connecting him to the USC job too, which he's said no about. But I mean, at this point, if they offered him the job at USC, you don't mean to tell me he's going to jump ship and go over there because it's cozy in those college ranks when you're coaching children. I can't wait to see what more comes out with Urban Meyer. Keep your eyes peeled. If you're not a football fan, maybe you're a fan of train wrecks. Urban Meyer is your cup of tea, my friend. Today's Josh Potter Show is brought to us by Dadgrass. God, Dadgrass is doing wonders, my friend. You ever just miss mids just to get a little bit high but not go to outer space? My father, actually, I sent him a whole bunch of Dadgrass. He just started blazing, and he was having a hard time because, stuff's good these days. And he was just getting paranoid, having bad effects. And the best part about Dadgrass is all over the country, it is 100% legal. It's also 100% organic. And it's smokable hemp, you see, that relaxes your body and mellows your mind. Its pre-rolled joints are very low in THC, high in CBD, so you can enjoy the effects of the CBD while keeping a clear head. You can chill out without getting super stoned. It's like having a glass of wine, but not the whole bottle. That's a great comparison. And right now, all Dadgrass products, by the way, federally legal for ages 21 and over, and it ships right to your door anywhere in the United States. So right now, Dadgrass offering my listeners 20% off their first order when you go to dadgrass.com/Josh. Just go to dadgrass.com/Josh, 20% off your first order. It's dadgrass.com/Josh. Dadgrass. Today's Josh Potter Show also brought to us by Fitbod. And Fitbod knows that working out can be arduous, and oftentimes, if you just do the same thing over and over again, you start to lose sight of your goals, you get unmotivated. Fitbod's keeping it fresh, baby. They keep things moving for you so that you can do your workout and you look forward to it, as a matter of fact. I know that's the way it's been for me. I have a hard time looking forward to like doing physical activity like that, and Fitbod has made it unbelievably enjoyable. There's no perfect body that everyone can achieve, but what we can do is continually become a better version of ourselves. And no workout is one size fits all, by the way. You know, I've done a couple where I'm like, this isn't really for me, but Fitbod creates a fitness program that continually adapts to you. So you can stay challenged with new exercises, with different pacing, the intensity changes based on where you are and where you want to be. Say you don't even have equipment at your house. No worries. Fitbod has body weight routines for those just looking to get fit at home or on the go. Maybe you have an office or something. You can go shut the blinds, lock the door, do a workout in during your lunchtime. Fitbod is super easy to use and even has HD video tutorials to make learning new exercises a breeze. So right now, you can pick up the pace on your fitness journey with Fitbod today, and your future self is going to thank you. You get 25% off your membership at fitbod.me/Josh. Again, 25% off your membership at fitbod.me/Josh. Before we get into the news, I wanted to get into some emails, and I do have to make an apology, I'm afraid, to kick off things here in the emails. It's about a story that I discussed last week, and I got it. Oh, can you believe it? I got it a bit wrong. So I decided I have to make an apology. Top of the six here at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Ohio. Coming to the plate, Jonathan India, Rookie of the Year candidate. Very exciting that he's going to be coming to the plate here, trying to get the Reds a lead. But I have to make an apology. On my last broadcast, you see, I discussed a man who served our country, a veteran. And there's India right now, fouling one off. 0-1 the count. This man served our country and then all he wanted to do, their partner, was ride a roller coaster. And so he argued his way on. The employees let him on. And in discussing this story, obviously he got thrown from the roller coaster. That's what I'm getting at here as India chops it another one, 0-2 the count. The man flew off the roller coaster. I had said that the man had lived. Turns out the man had died. And there's India now lining one into right center field, and that's going to be a single. Getting on base as next up, Votto coming to the plate. So it turns out that man died, is what I'm getting at there, partner. And I got to apologize. Forgot that he died. Was telling the story off my dome, thought it had a happy ending. Turns out it did not. The man, blunt force trauma. As Votto, 1-0, taking a pitch. But yeah, no, my bad for that one. I had remembered that he lived. Turns out he died. My bad. And I got an email, actually, that was about it. It says, there's more to that story. I worked there for 4 years in the water park maintenance department. The 3 attendants were ruled in the wrong by their employer, yet no criminal charges were charged. I mean, like, I think that's the amusement park, unfortunately, some corporate people covering their ass. And that sucks that those employees, I mean, what are they going to do? They're kids. They've told the guy, you're not allowed to ride the ride. They're like, yeah, you shouldn't ride the ride. He's like, I'm a veteran of this country. And they're teenagers. What are they going to say? They're going to, like, discriminate against a veteran who's handicapped? I mean, look at the world that we live in now. Even more so in 2021, would you have the balls to tell a handicapped veteran what they can and cannot do? One would hope. But again, these were kids. One of the attendants tried taking their own life because of this incident. Very sad series of events. Here's an article. This came in from Samuel Meyer, who wrote that email and filled me in on my error. A couple of people did. Don't get me wrong. A whole slew of people did. But this one, Samuel sent in the article here. It says 3 young roller coaster attendants, and double amputee James T. Hackemer ignored Darien Lake Theme Park Resort rules for disabled people getting on the ride of steel just before the Iraq War veteran was killed. Now, did the attendants ignore it, or were they, because they did bring it to his attention, he said, fuck you, basically, and I don't know if he said fuck you. He could have just been like, well, what do you say? And they were like, all right. So, I don't know. Like I said, they're fucking kids. Rules posted on the ride state that riders must have 2 legs. Oh, that's ableist of roller coasters. How dare they? Must have 2 legs. Sufficient body strength in order to ride the ride. You have to have sufficient body strength, evidently. I don't know why that is. Those same rules are also in a pamphlet for disabled individuals detailing the requirements for going on various rides in the park, but attendants did not question Heckemer about his disability, and the Gowanda man did not take the pamphlet when it was offered to him at the gate. Nonetheless, no criminal charges will be filed. So it says here that they did not question him. I recalled that they might have brought it up to his attention, but even for the lowest level of criminal culpability, we are required to establish that someone caused a death through criminal negligence, and we don't believe that is the case here. No, it was just ride operating negligence at the very least. So that's what they turned up for the old sheriff's negotiation here. We have plenty of more article, but we know what happened. The man got on the ride and died, and the poor people that are attendants have to live with that now. One even trying to take their own life. Awful stuff. But I do apologize for getting that part of it wrong. I'm like, oh, he lived, everything's happy. Nope. We also had some emails come in at joshpottershow@gmail.com from the fine folk in Auckland, New Zealand. And this is where I want to get to the news. We'll start the news with these emails. Welcome to the news, friend. Yes, last week we had a story about Auckland, New Zealand, because their lockdown is going pretty heavily. In fact, I forgot the name of the... Do you remember, Kirsten, the name that they used? Like distress level 4? What was it? Disaster level 4?
Yeah, I think it was like red zone 4 or something.
I'm sure someone mentions it in one of these emails, but I remember hearing that and thinking, what is this? District 9? What are we living in here? 28 days later? This is a wild sort of affair that they're having in Auckland, New Zealand. It made me proud to be an American, where at least I have to wear a mask and shit, but who cares? So this one coming in from Duffy. It says, hey, Josh, big fan of the show. I'm a 35-year-old man from outside of the Auckland lockdown with a fun report. So he lives in New Zealand, just outside the old Auckland lockdown. So nobody is allowed to leave red zone police checkpoints, all directions. No one's allowed to leave Auckland. There's a red zone police checkpoints. Letting a vehicle through with government exemption with the president of the Mongrel Mo, one of the biggest gangs. So the name of the gang is Mongrel Mo. Interesting. And the president of that gang, said gang, has a permit to make it through, one of our country's biggest gangs, letting him out of Auckland to give him opportunity to persuade other gang members to pull their heads in and begin following rules for lockdown protocol. You gotta follow proto, that's what the guy says in here. Because, so apparently they were letting gang influencers go out there. It's kind of like that video we shared where it was like, yo, I gotta get vaccinated so I can deal drugs. Remember that whole PSA that came out? It's kind of the same thing, only they were actually like using the gangs. They're like, we have to find influential members of the gangs and have them go into the towns and get people right. Go, hey, shelter in place. Lock down, friends. We have to do that for the viability of our gang. Turns out they just decided to do crime, as gangs do. Hamilton City is now also in lockdown because of said gang members not following the rules. So no school, no hospitality services, only 2 households per bubble, and which is wild. So that means like you and your neighbor can hang out, and that's it. 2 households per bubble. Everything is no contact. Masks are compulsory. Perimeter just... Prime Minister, there's some typos in here. The Prime Minister, he calls him a Nazi, pushing hard for 90% of the country vaccinated by Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Well, hopefully you get there so you can, that's wild. Could you imagine if we always are like, oh, they're making us get vaccinated because they won't let us go to a restaurant. Could you imagine if they were like, we are going to lock you in your home until you get vaccinated? That is a step so far, my friend. Let's hear another email. Because I wanted to get sort of an idea of what the lockdown was like there. That just seems like a guy who's had enough of it. Longtime listener here from Australia. We're getting a bit frustrated with how the situation in my country is being framed by the media. Okay, interesting. As of today, in the past 2 days, and this is because, by the way, I had said I'd seen videos. I don't know if these are propaganda videos, if that's really what's happening there. So I wanted some people on the ground, some Roach reporters, sending in emails to joshpottershow@gmail.com. As of today, in the past few days, 2 of our major states, being New South Wales and Victoria, have eased their restrictions, and freedoms we once enjoyed prior to the pandemic are starting to come back. This has always been on the horizon once we hit the vaccination goals, yet all the stories I see online from Fox News and other foreign news clips are of police beating people in the street. That's what I was talking about. I was like, they were like, hey, you're 20 meters from your home, and they just beat the shit out of them. Put some shrimp on the barbie, something like that. A few weeks ago, the Victorian construction industry decided to shut down for 2 weeks and require all their workers to be vaccinated before returning to work, due to clusters of cases popping up on the construction sites. This led to peaceful protests by construction workers that were hijacked by large amounts of anti-vax, anti-mask rioters that wanted to destroy stuff and bash some cops. These were the clips I saw on the news saying innocent civilians were being mercilessly beaten by... interesting. It's ridiculous. During 2021 and most of 2020, my state of Queensland has enjoyed the luxury of essentially no lockdowns and only a mask mandate for when you are indoors. This normalcy was entirely due to our strict border shutdown stopping interstate travel. I've been able to live my life relatively unhindered by COVID, and so is most of Australia during this pandemic. Our major states are starting to hit their goals for vaccination rates, and normal life is returning. I just needed to share my thoughts on this topic that keeps popping up and just ease people's minds around the world. Don't believe the clickbait bullshit. We chillin'. Keep up the good work. Wish I could see you live. I'm hoping to get out to Australia at some point. International travel is about to return. Yes, exactly, my friend. And that is from my friend Doug Doog on Twitch. And he wrote that email into joshpottershow@gmail.com. Next up, we have one from Andy B. As a listener and fan here in Auckland, New Zealand, I was pleased to hear our country mentioned on episode 53 of the podcast. Here are a few points for you regarding the article you read about the gang members attempting to smuggle Kentucky Fried Chicken into Auckland City. Finally, getting down to the business. Under Alert Level 4, there we are, that's the name of it, fast food outlets like KFC aren't allowed to operate, so takeaways, meaning takeout or to-go orders, as we call them here, aren't an option for those living in lockdown. Interesting. That's all I did during quarantine was DoorDash my face off, so I don't understand what they'd just be bouncing off the walls. You gotta shoot a kangaroo or some shit. At the time in question, Hamilton City, an hour's drive from Auckland, was in level 2, meaning Kentucky Fried Chicken could easily be obtained there. In New Zealand, our 2 most notorious gangs are the Mongrel Mob, as we mentioned. That was another typo, so it wasn't Mongrel Mo, it was Mongrel Mob. I was like, Mo isn't interesting. But it's Mongrel Mob, okay. And the Black Power. Black Power. I wonder if it's a bunch of white dudes. Do they have black people in New Zealand? Black Power.
The inner city blacks.
They supply a lot of our cannabis, he writes, which is still illegal here. Regarding the empty ounce bags, an ounce bag costing around $300 contains an ounce of weed, which gets broken down into tinnies, which cost about $20. This is a few joints worth of weed wrapped in tinfoil. Yeah, it's a dub sack, as we call it here in the States. Hence, being caught with an ounce can potentially be a jail sentence. So yeah, they had that, and then they also had, I wonder if the KFC was to throw off the scent of the weed, because if there's one thing that does it better than coffee beans, I would imagine it is a whole bundle of Kentucky Fried Chicken. But thank you for that email, Andy B. One last one here before we get into the rest of the news is coming to us by way of Jared McGovern. I was watching your most recent podcast and your story about beaning. Oh, so this is a different email. I apologize. It has nothing to do with our Auckland thing, but still international, and has to do with our story that was about the UK last week and how a TikTok craze, because here in the United States, you see, they have many a TikTok crazes. We saw the crate challenge. Now it's slap your teacher in the face. Here in America, we're a little aggressive with our TikTok challenges. Slap your teacher in the face challenge. Over in the UK, you know what they're doing? Beaning, which is taking a can of baked beans and just vandalizing a car with it the way we would do eggs on Halloween or something. And they said this was detrimental to not only people having to clean this up on the sides of their home or on their car or wherever they happen to do it on the driveway. It's also become a problem for canines, dogs, puppers out in the world that are coming up on these beans. And I said, what is beans? Other than making the dog fart for a insufferable amount of time, what potential danger could beans have on dogs? Well, Jared McGovern writes to us and tells us, I was watching your most recent podcast and your story about the beaning. There was the mention that beans are dangerous to dogs. My initial thought was, wait a second, Bush's Baked Beans used a dog for their ad campaign to sell their product. There's no way beans are harmful to dogs. Interesting. Wild. I did a quick Goog, and we found that if baked beans are okay for dogs to eat, lo and behold, every result said baked beans are very harmful to dogs. I started wondering how many people thought they could give their dog baked beans because the talking dog is telling them how good the baked beans are. So clearly dogs would like them, right? Is Bush's Baked Beans trying to control the dog population? Interesting. Little connecting of the dots there, Jared McGovern. That would be something that maybe they had to get rid of. Maybe that's why they got rid of the dog as their spokesman, because I haven't seen those ads in a while. Maybe the reason that they had to get rid of the dog was because too many people were having their dog get killed, and it was starting to creep up, and they were starting to become culpable, and they didn't want a class action lawsuit on their hands. But I would be curious to see how many dog deaths Bush's Baked Beans are responsible for, and if that is an egregious amount, then we must do something about that. I really believe that. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, Jared McGovern. Elsewhere in the news, we had some stories sent in to us that I thought were very exciting, and another one regarding the Taliban. We talked about last week how everyone thinks Gen Z will be the downfall of this country. Why can't it be the downfall of others? And Gen Z seems to have infiltrated the Taliban, and now they're taking selfies by broken helicopters instead of fixing said helicopters and hanging people from them. So the Taliban a little upset. Stop taking selfies, they said, we learned in last week's article. RJ sent me one that says the Taliban says graduates of 2000 to 2020, I guess from Taliban school in the last 20 years, people who graduated in the last 20 years. You know, you gotta wonder how much Osama bin Laden is at guilt for this, for the bad recruiting class that terrorists have. Because like I said, they come in expecting the glory. They expect jihad. They're going to become martyrs. They're going to do it in such a grand way. You know, it's not all that. Not everyone gets to fly planes into buildings in the Taliban. Some of you have to do some bullshit. And not everyone wants to as far as Gen Z goes in the Taliban. The Taliban have said that those who have graduated from high school so I guess it's regular high school. Who knows? Afghanistan high school. Who knows what they're talking about? But in the past 20 years are of no use. During a meeting with the university lecturers in Kabul, the acting minister of the higher education of the Taliban, Abdul Baqi Haqqani, said that those who have graduated from high school during the past 20 years are of no use. The minister is meant by the graduates who have studied during the non-Taliban era, when they were fighting the U.S.-backed governments of Hamid Karzai and Ashraf Ghani. Haqqani has said that they must hire teachers who instill the students and incoming generations the values that are of use in the country, and Afghanistan can still utilize their talents in the future. Showing a preference for religion studies, he emphasized that the master's and PhD holders of modern studies are less valuable than those who have studied in madrasas and have religious studies in Afghanistan. For Afghanistan, 2000 to 2020 is believed to be one of the most important and rich eras when it comes to the level of education in the country. Oh, so they're becoming too educated, and they don't want to be like, you know, the ditch digger equivalent to a terrorist. They're like, I think I could do some better stuff in my life. I find it very interesting. So Gen Z, while we're complaining, it's going to be the downfall of America, meanwhile, it's just making the ranks of the Taliban crumble from within. I love it. I love it. Elsewhere in the news now, we have, this is the selfie story from last time. We covered that pretty good. We were okay on that. But here we have, this is an interesting one. Everyone's talking about fentanyl. Don't do powders, folks. Stop it, because the fentanyl is in them. I remember when fentanyl was the drug that we sought out. I remember when we would just do fentanyl. Bad news bears, don't try it. It's killing people because it's in the coke and such. But this woman, maybe one of the bigger menaces because of all of this, she was found smuggling fentanyl in her vagina. Yikes. How much fentanyl could you ask? Well, let's find out. I mean, we do have a picture, yeah? I think Kirsten is pulling it up. Seizures of this powerful synthetic opioid continue to rise dramatically all along the southwest border, says El Paso Director of Field Operations Hector Maca. CBP officers remain vigilant and dedicated to disrupting the flow of this dangerous narcotic from entering our country. The first inspection happened September 28th at the port of Isleta, when a 30-year-old man presented himself for inspection via pedestrian. The officer detected nervous behavior from the man and referred him to a secondary inspection where a drug-sniffing dog alerted to the odor of narcotics coming from his groin area. A pat-down search resulted in the discovery of 0.264 pounds of fentanyl, along with over 1 pound of methamphetamine. The next day, officers assigned to the El Paso Del Norte border crossing intercepted 0.119 pounds of fentanyl. The 49-year-old woman presented herself to the inspection when a CBP officer noticed travel anomalies and nervous behavior. You can't have nervous behavior if you're smuggling drugs. That just gives him the excuse to look at your vagina, ladies. She was referred for a secondary inspection where a pat-down search was conducted. During the search, the woman acknowledged that she was concealing narcotics within her vaginal cavity. And there's the photo there. Golly. I mean, that's the pen there to give you a... Let me take a look here. The pen. So this is, I mean... I guess, you know, vaginas have babies. This is like nothing. She could have probably put like 17 of those up there and gotten through. But she was nervous. So that's the problem. And if you're going through a border patrol, walking, pedestrian, and this goes for anything, traveling with drugs, never act nervous. And if you're a lady especially, I can't imagine. I wonder how many, like, I wonder what they have to do to be like, we got to search your vagina. Like, what hoops does an officer of the law have to jump through to search a vagina? Probable cause has to be there, but what's... I mean, I smelled a little something from her vagina. I better go check it out. And then they're up there digging around. Nope. Nothing. They just got their fingers up there. You know, I wonder about these things. You know, of course, you know, because people do smuggle their drugs in their vaginas and their anal cavities, it's a thing. It happens all the time. So, ergo, how often are these Border Patrol officers getting some smelly on their fingers? Is that a perk of the job? Is that something when you sign up, you go, can't wait to start, I hope I'm in the finger division, because golly, can't wait to start investigating for some drugs, right, fellas? Just protecting our nation's borders from all the poison that's coming through, one clit at a time. Right now, we've got another story, this one coming from a gentleman, I think. This is an odd name. Otniel Monnery. I think it's a gentleman. I'm going to go on a limb and assume. Because it involves an OnlyFans. A Colorado cam mom who previously claimed that God wants her to strip on OnlyFans has now confessed to knowing the Heavenly Father in a biblical sense. Oh, is this her? You found her?
This is Our Lady and her Lord.
There they are, the great couple. At least two of the three. Nina Marie, 45, now says she's experiencing heaven in a sexual trinity with her husband and the Almighty. A sacred and spiritual ménage à trois, she called it. Marie, a devout Christian. This is definitely an interesting vertical on OnlyFans. To be a devout Christian OnlyFans whore. Love it. Love it. Especially one who's pretending to fuck Jesus. Marie, a devout Christian OnlyFans model, acknowledged that the sexual nature of their ecstatic love affair is unrequited as the creator, while supposedly imbued in all of heavens and earth, does not occupy the physical realm. So are they saying they are raping Jesus mentally? I don't understand. But a prayer before bedtime has blessed her sex life by filling her with God's love, body and soul. There's nothing more fulfilling or satisfying than when you experience God's love for you while pleasuring your partner, said Marie. All right, I can get behind that. Whose corporal partner has not been revealed in the interest of their family's privacy. The sanctimonious stripper made headlines last month for declaring that her racy TikTok persona is what God wants me to do. Now Marie tells the press that she wants to continue to share the good word of her Lord and Savior between the sheets. So yeah, she's doing the whole, like, she's fingering herself and being like, oh, the Lord. You know, she's probably giving some verses in there between orgasms. I say more power to her. Her humble prayer, said out loud or in thought, invites God to be a part of their lovemaking. It's then up to God's power to bring forth great sex and heavenly orgasms, according to Marie. OnlyFans stripper says naked videos are what God wants her to do. By asking God to be present, it means you're more likely to be able to manifest that dream into reality, she said. Moderation and gratitude are important to the mom of two who boasts 1 million followers on Instagram while also coaching other middle-aged women on how to make bank on OnlyFans. So she's a consultant. That's wonderful. Up to 270 times the average American worker, according to one study. That's how much she makes. 270 times the average American worker. God bless her. I don't ask God to join me and my husband every time we have sex, but at least twice a week. So that's what you know what you're getting on the menu here. The sexual acolyte also urged her flock to try inviting God. I mean, God's busy. He can't go around having three-ways with everybody. Lady, he's got more important things to do. Could you imagine if, you know, there's an earthquake in Haiti or a tidal wave somewhere across the world just sweeping villages and children away? And fucking Marie's like, but God, and God's like, damn, that pussy good though. That pussy good though. So, you know, he turns a blind eye to the hurricane or what have you. If you have an incident where you're like, where was God? In the next couple of weeks, you'll know it's because he was fucking Marie and her husband. Or whoever else she's encouraged along the way. We're going to get to Frank the Tank in a couple of moments. I have to tell you, folks, Frank the Tank got me through quarantine with his content. Not only is he a huge Mets fan since he was a child and a devout Mets fan to the likes of which I haven't known fandom. I mean, I'm a giant Buffalo Bills fan. I would compare my fandom to his in terms of the Buffalo Bills. But once you get into his world, you know how much of a Mets fan he is, almost to a fault. Very pessimistic about their future and just for the entire season. The poor guy's going to give himself an aneurysm, but he also has wonderful content on Barstool that is him sampling hot dogs. It's called Raw Dogging. He also does soda reviews. I mean, the man is a content machine, and I swear, when I say this man got me through quarantine, the way that many of you have spoke to me about, and I know how much it means to me that Frank got me through quarantine, so every time you've made that compliment to me, I've felt absolutely honored. And so I know how much it meant to me that Frank did that for me, and I wanted to have him on the show because the documentary, the 30 for 30, Once Upon a Time in Queens, about the 86 Mets, is everything I love about the Mets organization. They're must-see TV. And in the 80s, it was rock and roll, it was sex, it was drugs, and that's not really Frank's speed. So I'm curious his thoughts on the 86 Mets. He was alive during that time and a child, so I'd imagine they hold a special place in his heart, but we'll get to all of that next with Frank the Tank. Today's Josh Potter Show also brought to us by TruNiagen. Now, I'm a caffeine-addicted loser. I mean, I'm always pouring it down my throat in copious amounts. TruNiagen, though, has helped curb that a little bit for me because it gives me the energy that I need without having to reach for that extra Red Bull or that extra cup of coffee. I don't have the jitters anymore. And it's a healthy alternative, as a matter of fact. I mean, look at all the benefits that TruNiagen is a supplement that has. I mean, it's clinically proven to boost NAD levels, an essential coenzyme required for cellular energy and repair. It helps my muscles recover after I'm doing some workouts and things like that. So you can add more vitality to your life with TruNiagen. And right now, new customers can save 10% on their first purchase by just going to TruNiagen.com/Potter. That's TruNiagen.com/Potter. TruNiagen.com/Potter. It's right below here. Use code Potter. That's TruNiagen.com/Potter. Code Potter to save 10% on your first purchase. TruNiagen.com/Potter. Code Potter. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Today's Josh Potter Show is also brought to us by Policy Genius. October is already a busy month. I mean, Halloween is looming. You got to make costumes for the kids. You got to figure out what candy you're going to leave out for the trick-or-treaters. One thing you don't want to think about is life insurance policies. And Policy Genius is going to help you compare all those things. They're going to help you save money, and they're going to do it in a jiff, my friend. They make it easy to compare quotes from over a dozen top insurers, all in one place. Why do you want to compare, you ask? Maybe you're like, well, I know of one. Why do I want to compare prices? Well, you could save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. Hell, you could save $1,300 or more per year on life insurance by using Policy Genius. Maybe you don't have kids and you're like, I don't need Policy Genius. I don't need life insurance. Well, you do. No matter what's going on in the world, it's good to have some life insurance, whether it's for your business, for your family. No matter what the case, it makes sense to get life insurance. Pleased to be getting life insurance. So get started and do it in an easy fashion. Right now, you just head over to policygenius.com/Josh, and in minutes, you'll be able to work out how much life insurance coverage you might need. You'll be able to compare personalized quotes to find your best price. And when you're ready to apply, the Policy Genius team will handle the paperwork and scheduling for free. Policy Genius doesn't even add on extra fees. So head to policygenius.com/Josh to get started right now. Policy Genius. When it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. All right, on with us now. I'm so thankful that he came on the show. None other than Frank the Tank Fleming. Welcome, buddy. Appreciate you doing it. And it seems like you had a busy day at the office, or how was it?
I wasn't at the office today. I was doing putting some things in storage, trying to straighten up my apartment a little bit. I might be moving soon, so I got to start trying to get that squared away to start perhaps looking to do that.
Well, congratulations on that. I know you've been looking to do that for quite some time here, but I wanted to give you some props. I've loved your content for so long. Since prior to Barstool, been watching all of it. You got me through COVID, so I appreciate you doing that. And everything from soda reviews, the raw dogging, unit stuff with Doug's, Allow Me to Be Frank, the podcast. What do you enjoy doing the most?
I like the road trips when I can get on the road.
Yeah, you've been doing that quite a bit this year. I was curious because you've been going to all the ballparks and everything. What so far is the best ballpark hot dog?
The best ballpark hot dog? They're all pretty much average.
Yeah? Nothing really stands out, eh?
I actually like that hot dog that I had at the New Jersey Jaguars game.
Ooh, a minor league team, throwing out the hot dog there.
I mean, most hot dogs I come at stadiums are like singles. You rarely get a double. You have a lot of strikeouts. Some of them have been terrible.
Have you ever been to Dodger Stadium with the Dodger dog? Would that stand out, do you think? Someday you got to make the trip to do that. Just went to the NL wildcard game.
One of these days, maybe next year.
Yeah, I'd love that. You got to get out here to check out the Dodger Stadium. But I want everyone to follow him on Twitter at NJTank99 and on Instagram, of course, NJTank1975. Now, 1975, that's when you were probably born, I'd imagine, right, Frank?
Yes.
Awesome. So,
yes. By the way, I'm nearing 100,000 subscribers on Twitter.
Oh, on Twitter. Nice. Followers. Yeah, that's great. So hopefully we can get you over the hump then. That'd be wonderful. And so now, 1975, how did you come to be such a fan of the Mets? Was it just growing up, or when did you remember your first Mets memory?
I kind of started when Dwight Gooden came up.
Okay.
I was 8, 9 years old, and that was sort of when I was the first time.
Now, was he considered one of your favorite players?
Yes, he was.
Even with all the strife and scandal and things like that, because I know you don't tolerate those things.
That came later.
I see, but you still hold a special place in your heart for him. I was curious with these 1986 Mets. You were prime age, youth, when they were on top of the world, and since then, I mean.
Yep, and it's been pure hell ever since.
I mean, what's been the worst part since then? Before we talk about the best part, what's been the worst?
Collapses, the underachieving, the disappointment, the half-ass play, the cheapness.
The cheapness. Yeah, I've heard you talk about that. Discount baseball. You think it's coming again, eh?
Well, it looks like they're going to let Stroman walk. They're going to let Conforto walk. They're going to let. They're not going to sign anybody. Baez is going to be gone. So what do you call it?
Yeah, that's true. And so, I mean, I've seen your tweets and I've followed. I mean, I'm basically a Mets fan because of you, because you've made me go like, I got to watch this team. Whether they live or die, I'm fascinated by all of it. Whether it's the epic collapses, the wins that they pull out of their ass. I mean, all of it has been must-see TV, in my opinion. And so, I mean, and you've helped be the catalyst to that. I guess
nobody right now wants to be the president of baseball operations. It looks like it's going to end up being Sandy Jr.
Right.
I mean, what are we doing here? It looks like it doesn't look like anything has changed. It looks like the same mindset is still on this team. It's still promulgating the Mets just utter ineptness and just futility.
Now they fired Luis Rojas. I know you were saying all year that they weren't going to do that. Were you shocked?
That's just the first step, and it doesn't look like they're doing much else.
Anybody you want on your short list to replace him?
Bruce Bochy, Mike Scioscia, John Gibbons, Carlos Beltran. I mean, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's who you want, but who do you think they're going to go after?
Brad Ausmus, who will be just the absolute worst hire.
So you're just already chalking that up. He's going to be the next manager of the New York Mets.
Yeah, someone who sucks and doesn't care about winning and believes in only analytics.
Now, people that might not know, Frank came to prominence, in viral prominence, I should say, by you were about to attend a Mets game and you were taking the New Jersey transit system and talk about inept, futile sort of existence. The New Jersey transit system, never a great thing. And you were, what was that, on the news or who captured that video?
I mean, it was weird that it took off after that.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, so were you just ranting and raving and someone on the news captured it with their cameras, or did they ask to interview you that day?
I saw the camera people and I went right after them.
I mean, so go Google this video, Frank the Tank, New Jersey Transit, and you'll get to see the kind of fire that Frank brings to Citi Field when he attends. I mean, you've been blocked by numerous Mets now. You're obviously in their heads. They know what's going on. Do you think he had something to do with the firing of Luis Rojas, since you were so adamant about it?
Well, I would have been unacceptable if he returned next year.
Unacceptable. And have you done any sort of, I know, like, I'm good friends with Kevin. He's done the canceling of the season. I did take up umbrage with him not apologizing to you throughout this season. You called it the whole way through, and he still hasn't offered you an apology from what I understand. He told me that he's still...
We'll see what happens. I mean, he's got to do something. I mean, if they continue to flail away and don't sign anybody, I want to hear him... hear what he has to say after that.
Well, you know what he did recently was denounce sports. Kevin's just not going to be a sports guy anymore. That's the way he decided to go about it, which I think is giving up, frankly.
So, well, I mean, let's face it. I mean, come on. I mean, he doesn't even know Carlos Beltran's number.
That's right. That was outed the other day, as a matter of fact. Well, Frank, I wanted to ask you, too, about the 1986 Mets. You must have great memories. You said Gooden was like one of your favorites. And, I mean, watching that documentary, did you watch it with happy memories, or did you watch it like, we'll never get back there again?
I watched it just sad that we'll never get back there again.
That's what I figured. You have that sort of, I guess, shit-colored glasses when it comes to the Mets, yeah? Like, instead of the rosy-colored glasses, it's the opposite. Until they show you something.
Since 2007, I haven't been able to trust this team.
Even with the new ownership coming in and everything, because they did put in this documentary.
Well, what has he done? I haven't seen any difference. I see Jared Porter hired.
That's true.
I see Zach Scott drunk driving. I see them not signing their Kumar Rocker. I see a terrible season. I see Javier Baez getting acquired for a prospect and then bolting. I see Marcus Stroman already talking about asking the Yankees to sign him. You know that's what he was doing, don't you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you made a.
I see the San Diego Padres making more playoff moves than the Mets, and I see the Mets just sitting there hoping that Jared Eichhoff could catch lightning in a bottle.
Do you think that it's just first year trying to get his sea legs about him? Do you think he's got to have a little time to own a team?
Well, if he doesn't spend it, we'll know he's not a Wilpon.
There you go, because that's the key is the Wilpons. I mean, even in this documentary, Once Upon a Time in Queens, it kind of showed that the Wilpons, when they took over, that was the start of the end. Was when they took over things.
Well, don't you know what happened?
Tell us.
The Mets were actually owned by Doubleday Publishing Company. Nelson Doubleday was the forefront of that. He ran the company, and but he needed like another investor, so he got like this real estate guy, and that was Fred Wilpon, who was a baseball fan. So Wilpon was basically like he was the president, but he didn't have as much say and power as Nelson Doubleday. Doubleday was the CEO. He was in charge. Fred Wilpon basically was just like running the day-to-day operations on the field. But Nelson Doubleday had the final say. Nelson Doubleday sold Doubleday Publishing to a German firm in 1986, just after the World Series. And then he wanted to buy the Mets on his own. Doubleday diverged the Mets ownership. Fred Wilpon came in and stabbed Nelson Doubleday in the back and got 51% of the team.
Ah, and that was the beginning of the end.
And that created friction between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now Wilpon had more power, and he was embarrassed by what the Mets were doing. And he instructed to start getting rid of some of these people. And that included the Kevin Mitchell trade. He wanted better quality, better class of people.
Right. Do you agree with that strategy? I know you, because, I mean, hell, maybe Michael Conforto needs to do a little coke to get things going. You know what I'm saying? Maybe some of these players on the team need to take some lessons.
I mean, they got Kevin McReynolds, who literally hated playing baseball.
Mm-hmm.
He hated baseball.
But he was like a good guy, right?
What?
But he was one of those good guys, so they kept him on the team, right?
He actually had some good years. He just treated baseball like it was going to the coal mine.
Yeah, he loathed it. He didn't have any passion for the game.
I mean, really, he did not like baseball.
Well, what do you think of that idea?
Then they brought up Jeffries and anointed him like the future, and basically had him reporting to Mets management what players are doing.
I see, like a snitch.
Yeah.
And did he get anybody in trouble that caused any rifts in the locker room?
Yeah, he's the one that basically reported to the Mets management that Lenny Dykstra was using steroids, and it led to the Dykstra trade.
Man. So you got all this knowledge, and somehow you walk away, you're still a fan, but you're very pessimistic about its future, as we know.
Yeah.
And because they haven't shown you anything. What if one day, lo and behold, the Mets come out and they shock the world, and they shock you most importantly? How are you going to react to that?
Well, they should have won in 2006. They were the best team in baseball. They had some bad luck, but it goes back to just the not having the tools to be able to finish the job. They had some injuries because Pedro broke down. They made some hasty deals, and in 2007 completely collapsed, and it's been terrible since. The only thing they got is a 2-month run in 2015 got them to the World Series. That's it. This team has had losing seasons in 10 of the last 13 years. And that 2-month run, other than that 2-month run, that was about a 500 team.
Wild. And here you are, still a fan, going to all the games, watching the games, streaming them. I mean, your dedication is unmatched. And even despite all the I feel like they're giving you health problems with the way that they're acting, through all of it. But hey, one day I feel like they're going to pull it out. I can't wait to see I want to see a happy Frank the Tank is what I'm saying.
Well, it doesn't look like that's ever going to happen. I mean, it already looks like, but it doesn't look like they're even going to do anything this whole season. It's going to be the same shit. Go into spring training with a bunch of rejects and hope that somehow you catch lightning in the bottle.
I'm hoping they do for your sake is what I'm saying. And I know that you don't have a good outlook on it, but I'm still hoping. I just want to see you have fun at the games. I want to see you enjoy it. Is what I want. I don't want to see you have to go through all the rants and raves any longer. That would be the best thing for everybody, I think. But I think they should take a page out of the old 1986 Mets. Start fucking each other's wives. Do whatever you got to do. I mean, get in there, get dirty, get rock and roll, sex, drugs, the whole thing. Bring it all back. I mean, what do you make of the one thing we talked about on this show was the Lindor-McNeil fight in the tunnel. Did you ever get an inside scoop as to what that was about? Because it certainly wasn't about a raccoon or a rat or whatever they were saying.
Nope, I never got it.
Any theories on it, being so hardcore of a fan?
Yeah, basically, Luis Rojas had no control over the team, and it was a mess.
Just was a disaster.
Yes.
Well, I don't know what to say other than I hope that they pull it out here for you, Frank, in the coming years, and keep up with the wonderful, absolutely wonderful content. I'm enjoying everything, and I hope you get to do more road trips. You and Doug's together has been awesome.
Yes.
And I hope you get out here to LA, go to Dodgers Stadium, and test I want to see a raw dogging on the Dodger dog.
Yep, and Pinks.
And Pinks, that's very true. Yeah. Pinks, and there's a couple other spots out this way, so hopefully we'll get you out here real soon. Let me just make sure there was nothing else I wanted to ask you about. But yeah, go check out all the stuff Frank's got going on, raw dogging, the unit stuff with Coach Doug's. I mean, you're just a content machine, one of Mr. Portnoy's better hires, I would say. And I mean, how have things been for you since you've been at Barstool? The quality of life must have increased quite a bit.
Yeah, it's improving. Hopefully I'll get the new apartment soon.
Yeah, there you go. And we see the Merino stuff in the background there, all the memorabilia, big Dolphins guy.
Get out of this, I mean, the walls feel like they're falling, closing in here. It's not enough room.
I get that. I'm doing a similar thing with myself, trying to move out of a small apartment into a better one. So I totally relate to that, my friend. And I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your Mets fandom with us, because so many people wonder why I say they're must-see TV without, checking them out for themselves. Now maybe they will. And your companion content is always so much fun. I love watching you stream the games whenever you get the chance. I know you've been busier now with all the stuff going on, but hopefully next season we'll get some more Frank the Tank Mets streams, Yeah,
that'll be nice.
Well, thank you so much, Frank, and I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope we get to talk to you soon, okay?
All right, I'll talk to you later.
So there you go, folks. Frank the Tank. I've always wanted to talk to the guy. I mean, he gets worked up about the Mets. I thought he was going to get worked up there, but he, just subdued Frank the Tank, if you will. But go check out all this stuff. Again, his Twitter is at NJTank99. Get him over that 100K mark, baby. And on Instagram, you can go see him there, NJTank1975. An honor to talk to Frank the Tank and get an idea of the misery he's been living in since 1986. I mean, that documentary, we'll talk more about it. I wanted to get into some of the nitty gritty, but, we'll talk more about it down the road. And if you've watched it, if you've done your homework and you want me to bring up something in particular, go to joshpottershow@gmail.com. Do send in an email. Other than that, though, friend, we will see you next Tuesday here on the Josh Potter Show. And I want to reiterate one more time, my Instagram at Josh_Potter, my Twitter at J_Potter. Pleased to be buying tickets to live shows on there. The next one, big one. Buffalo Helium, Thanksgiving weekend, 5 shows, and I'll be announcing some more East Coast dates very soon. But thank you so much once again for joining us on The Josh Potter Show.